Good day. Perfect. And you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
All
It's
right.
an
What would
honor
you
to
like
be
to
able to
discuss?
speak with you today.
And ours as well. Please proceed.
I have some questions for you.
Yes.
So, as you may know, this has been quite an interesting month in America and the world, with an apparent U.S. government whistleblower revealing that the U.S. is in the possession of at least 12 alien craft.
Step by step disclosure is occurring. Yes.
Yeah. If the U.S. government is pressured to acknowledge and confirm this information to the American public and the world in the immediate future, with the way you read the energy now, would this accelerate open contact, or does the 2026-2027 window already account for this potential disclosure?
The 26-27 window probability accounts for a different path. The idea of these kinds of disclosures, however, does accelerate the probability of open contact. But what we're talking about as a contact event can be assisted by this to some degree in the aftermath of the event, but it is not necessarily what the probability of the event is based on.
I understand. And
All right.
There's no further information what this probability could be based on, whether it's a negative or positive event that causes that.
We are conferring. One moment. At this time, it is recognized by the majority of the conference we have just had that further discussion of this topic at this time may result in misunderstanding and misleading content. So we will refrain at this time from answering that question directly.
Understood. No problem. All right. And the next question I have is, again, the U.S. government or the main Anomaly Resolution Office has acknowledged detecting and recording videos of flying metallic orbs making, quote unquote, very interesting apparent maneuvers all over the world.
Yes.
What can you tell us about these objects and their purpose?
Well, again, a lot of them are observing your world for a variety of reasons. There are many different civilizations involved. Some of them are simply passing through and have no business with you, but they are passing through because there are many portals on your planet that allow for certain kinds of passages to occur. So the idea is, again, there's a variety of reasons and a variety of civilizations that are interested or simply not interested in what's going on your planet.
Understood. So they belong to different, they don't all belong to the same civilization or race.
No,
they belong
no.
to different people.
In the same way that you have airplanes going from country to country carrying people from different cultures on different kinds of business.
Understood. And how does the government know that they're metallic? Is it because they were able to capture one or two?
Some of them, yes. And some of them can be observed to have certain traits that in your reality appear to have metallic traits, yes. Now, not always are they actually metal. Some of them may give off traits that look like metal but aren't. Maybe different kinds of substances and how they react in your physical reality. Nevertheless, some of them from different civilizations are made of certain kinds of metallic alloys.
Understood. Thank you for that. And
Yes.
The next question is on a different topic. I do understand that reincarnation is an illusion and that all parallel lives are happening at the same time from the perspective of an oversoul.
Yes. Now, that doesn't mean reincarnation is not real as an experience, but it is not mechanically what is actually happening.
Yep. So from the point of view of my individual soul, I was previously in spirit, and then linearly speaking, decided to have this current physical life.
Yes.
when I am done with this life, I will go back to spirit and again, linearly speaking, may decide to have another future life.
Yes, you may.
From this perspective, and also while understanding that this is a very dynamic process and I may be plugging in and out to different
Yes.
lives all the time.
Yes, and that you are having that so-called future experience right now, too.
Understood. So from that perspective, can you tell me about one of my past and one future life that are most relevant to my current incarnation and are affecting me the most right now, and why?
The lives as explorers are most relevant from our perspective. So in ancient times, it might have been ocean explorers. It might have been on land that you would discover things. You might have allowed yourself to have an experience as a merchant seaman in Atlantean times. And in the future, you might be exploring different ideas of dimensions and space and time in different ways. But it is mostly the idea of exploring and gathering data and information to increase your knowledge of existence itself.
Understood. So is that what you're actually seeing by reading my energy, or?
Yes, of course. How else would we see it?
I don't know.
It's the patterns that are showing themselves to us that stand out most strongly to us at this particular moment.
So
Especially since in having this conversation, you're also exploring.
absolutely. So the lives that you mentioned, they have the most impact on me currently in this life.
Because you're creating them to have the most impact by making them the strongest connections that you're paying attention to.
Mm. Interesting. Okay, understood.
All right.
So, and I think my last question is, I'm originally from Ukraine, and I clearly remember your prediction around 2019 about an escalation of the storm in the area of the Eastern European bloc.
Yes.
That prediction unfortunately came true. So as you read the energy now, how close are we to there is any sort of resolution or peace in Ukraine?
We're not allowed to answer this at this time for you. We are, however, allowed to tell you that what is going on in that area is to some degree connected to the idea of the energy that will bring about the major contact event that Bashar has spoken to you about in your 26 and 27 arena of time and space. That is all that is allowed to be given to you at this time from us.
Understood.
That was delivered by a different kind of being that is in touch with what is going on about that energy and is watching over that area for a variety of reasons and assisting in certain ways. That is all we are allowed to say at this time.
Understood. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and yeah, thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Ave.
That we might not already know. And why do they seem like the happiest animals on earth?
Because they are, in a sense, devoted to pure service, pure love. And therefore, that is the happiest state. And therefore, they represent the idea of service, represent the idea of connections to spirit as the energy of service, as the energy of unconditional love, and are willing to take on, for the people they associate with, many of the symbolic reflections of issues and challenges that the human may be going through, to reflect back to you as a mirror of service what it is you're going through by seeing the behavior in the dog, and understand again it is connected to Sirius, and that's why you intuitively call it the dog star. So the idea of higher perception, higher vibration, higher frequencies of unconditional love and service to all is what the dog represents as an animal on your planet in general, among other things that we will not go into that deeply at this time.
Ha'atu Bashar.
And to you, good day. Ha'atu.
It's my honor and pleasure to speak with you today.
As it is for us as well. What would you like to discuss?
My first question is, how does one differentiate between communication from the higher mind or spirit guide as opposed to something conjured up in the physical mind?
Well, it's not always important to do so if the information is something that works to your benefit in the direction you prefer. Therefore, trying to figure out where it's coming from or who it's coming from isn't always as important as you might think, because it could get in your way and slow down the process of simply acting on the information if it is representative of the vibration you prefer. So you don't always have to differentiate. If it is important that you should differentiate, synchronicity will probably bring to your attention a way in which to do so.
Thank you.
Yes.
How can one recognize that one is a different person even if they have memories of trauma of past events from non-preferable versions of themselves and experiences?
Well, you can begin to recognize perhaps a difference in the so-called emotional distancing that may occur if you're simply looking at something from another version of yourself, maintaining your ability to see that version, but not necessarily having the strength of feeling that you used to have about it. That's one way. It can be something more observational, like you're looking at a movie of someone else as opposed to something that's truly still as relevant to you as it used to be. That's one way.
Thank you.
The fact also, one moment, we're not done.
Sorry.
The fact also that you may be looking at that event itself from another perspective as a way of recognizing yourself and even asking the question itself, how can I tell the difference, is an indication that you may be using that connection differently than you used to.
I see. Are you also doing first contact work in any other very different time periods on Earth? And if so, may you share?
In a way, my civilization is. I myself am focused in what you would recognize as your present timeline in general, though there are parallel reality aspects to that as well, in different timelines and different versions of Earth that I am also simultaneously in contact with. But my civilization has to some degree interacted with your civilization in what you call ancient times, yes.
What meaning does the year 2023 have from your perspective?
It has different meanings from different perspectives depending upon who we are speaking with, because we're only referring to this idea of your present year from the perspective of the people with whom we connect.
Are you limited by the information that is only experienced through Daryl? As an example, a piece of art that Daryl has never seen may mean that you haven't seen it. So I'm curious if it is the same with certain knowledge and information as well.
To some degree, yes. First of all, we impose certain limitations on ourselves in communicating with your species if that information would interfere with your process and your growth. So there are things we may not know while we're communicating with you that we will know when we reconnect with our own civilization. But yes, there are certain limitations. If the channel doesn't have certain vocabulary, then we may not be able to express a certain idea in a way that may make sense to humans, in the way they are used to hearing it. We can make an attempt to express it in other terms that are within the channel's vocabulary. So there is that limitation that does exist. There are certain things we can allow our consciousness to impress upon the channel's consciousness that go beyond his immediate knowledge. The word Bashar itself is an example of that. But that's easier done when the channel has absolutely no idea what to expect, no idea of what is coming in that context, because he didn't speak the language that the word Bashar comes from. And therefore, we're able to sort of slip it in because he had no idea what to expect of our connection to him at that time, at that point. So we're able to do it because he didn't know that he couldn't receive it.
Ah, interesting. Um, when was the Sphinx built, and why is it a lion?
It wasn't a lion to begin with. It was Anubis to begin with. The idea of the so-called god of the dead, the underworld. It is about 10,500 of your years ago, far longer than your present archaeologists believe. It was done at the time, slightly before and during the destruction of Atlantis, for the preservation of knowledge and instruction for the reclaiming of that knowledge at your present time in general. And it has to do with the connections to the stars and the connection to spirit guides having to do with the idea of the underworld. Over time, the Sphinx has become eroded and changed and resculpted in a variety of ways. But its original form was as Anubis, which represents the idea of your connection to the spirit realm.
I see. Seeing as how the Earth is a planet with a theme of recycling, I was curious as to how many times the Earth has been repopulated with humans.
Humans, as you understand them today, have not repopulated the Earth. Other kinds of beings have populated the Earth before your time.
Were they very different from human beings, or somewhat?
Some of them were humanoid. A few of them were not at all.
Why are they not here right now?
Because it is your time. They have done what they needed to do, just as you will eventually no longer reincarnate as human on the Earth when it is no longer your time, when you no longer need the lessons that Earth can provide. In about 1,000 of your years, you will stop reincarnating altogether as the human species because you will already have been evolved into the 6th hybrid race, and you will move on to something else. And other beings will come in to take advantage of the cycles of Earth in their own way, on their own journey.
Wow.
It's like graduating from a school. Why go back? You have graduated. Other students will come in to use the facilities, to learn new things.
I hear that. One last question, if I may. If possible, may I receive a mantra from your ancient language, perhaps maybe to help me connect more clearly with the silver cord?
Ash-ah shakanani. Ash-ah shakanani. Ash-ah shakanani.
Thank you so much. Namaste, aho, and my deepest unconditional love your way for all that you do. And I mean, thank you so much.
Aveo.
Aveo.
Hey, hello, Bashar. So my question is about a couple years ago, I was meditating, and when I about to end my meditation, I heard a voice, and this voice is both female and male, and they said, "We are surround you," in English. By the way, my first language is Chinese, and they spoke to me in English. This is the first time. And second time is, so I was meditating. And when I'm about to end my meditation, I heard a voice. This time is definitely a male voice. And he said, "Come with me." And I asked back, "Who are you?" And I get no answer. And meanwhile, at the same time, I can feel this electricity can go from the top of my head and through my spine across my body. So my question is, what happened and who was it? What's their purpose? Thank you, Bashar. I love you.
Our unconditional love to you as well. This is a combination of different things happening by your spirit guides and by your own higher mind and by your connections to many other things that you are connected to energetically and interdimensionally. It's basically for the purpose of allowing you to experience the result and rewards of your meditation in raising your frequency, That vibration you felt was the result of raising your frequency as the physical body interprets it. So the idea is come with me means be yourself, be your higher self, be like me. So you are being assisted by guides and your higher self through your meditations. So continue if you wish. It will help you.
Hello and good day.
Good day, good day.
How are you?
Perfect, and you?
Also perfect. Thank you for that reminder.
All right, what would you like to discuss?
In the past, we've discussed genetics and the technology of such, and I wanted to further clarify and have a conversation.
Repeat the word.
I wanted to have a conversation around genetics
Yes.
and the understanding of how your contact sigil, which is a geometry I've been fascinated with, or even before I met you, in regards to how that and the Triana relate to genetics, as well as the teachings of Jesus Christ relate to genetics as well in the Bible.
All right, I'm going to give you one phrase that covers it all and let you ponder this.
Yes.
As above, so below. The idea of DNA is what you are as a physical being. Ponder those things. As above, so below. Look at the order in which that occurs. And the idea of DNA is what you are as a physical being.
So what comes to mind when you say that is as above, or in the quantum field, or in the all that is, in the Father energy, in the expression of God. Below that is lensed through the individual relationship of our genetics, which creates our physical experience.
To some degree, yes.
So
Which starts as DNA
yes,
and is you as a physical being. This body that you all walk around in is the suit that DNA required to have a physical experience. But you, as a physical being, are actually the DNA.
yes. So would it be accurate to say that DNA is the lensing mechanism for all that is, or for the quantum plenum or the ether to express itself physically?
Yes.
And so in your contact sigil, what comes to mind is that trinary structure, similar to the Triana. You have the trinary structure, which could relate to the codons in the DNA. So you have 64 codons. And then you have that Fibonacci spiral that can be clockwise or counterclockwise. You have a binary code of that trinary structure.
Yes, although it's not just a binary code, because you have to think multidimensionally,
Yes.
not just in a plane.
Yeah, of course. It's, yeah, every,
All right.
okay. And then, so in the teachings of Jesus Christ, when he says, you know, even the least among you can do as I do, I and my Father are one. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God. It seems as though that is saying what I hear you saying in regards to that God, all that is, goes through the Word, which is our DNA or our translation interface to.
Well, it's a vibration. It's a vibrational frequency. It's resonance. The word is resonance, frequency, vibration, that then transmutes into the idea of the DNA and projects into a physical reality experience. Remember, the symbolic interpretation that is imposed upon many ideas of your religion is that it is a trinity.
Yes.
Whether or not the symbols that are used are necessarily literal isn't the point. The point is that it is recognized as a trinity. As above, so below, but there's an in-between, always.
Yes, and that in-between would have a positive, negative, neutral lensing.
In terms of the sigil, you have the three that represent the idea of the trinity, but then you have the spiral that is the active principle in the center that brings into being what is above into below.
Got it. So it's a transceiver. So that's the
Yes.
geometry of how it receives and how it expresses
Yes.
optimally.
Yes.
In the past, we've discussed a genetic or resonance technology for health that's related to that Fibonacci spiral, more specifically to the 0.6180 frequency that corresponds to the same DNA width to length. And obviously that golden ratio is everywhere.
Yes. 1 to 1.618, yes.
So that 1 to 1.618
represents how the structure of physical reality expands fractally.
yeah, fractal propagation is all on that.
Yes.
Which seems as though that's also how your internal lattice structure physiologically, what's known as the interstitial fluid matrix, those ratios of linkages are all that same ratio.
Yes, and it is also representative of the interstitial structure between dimensions.
Oh, wow. And how does that relate to pi? Because in the past, you've discussed pi being that in-between parallel realities.
Pi is the expansive principle within each dimension, the infinite expanding principle that never ends. So every dimension that exists contains at its core a seed that is pi, representing its expansive potential.
Okay. And then so all in the book of Genesis, when it talks about all of the plants, all of the animals, the human dominion over those aspects being a seed in kind that is God, it's also discussing the relationship of genetics that permeates all.
Yes, and remember that in its ancient meaning, dominion doesn't mean in control of, it means caretaker of.
Yeah. Hopefully we bring that back. Thank you so much, Bashar.
Thank you, thank you. Aveo.
Aveo.
We have a lot of fantastic questions from our audience members today.
All right, you are standing in for Nania then.
I am.
All right, please proceed, Mother of Seven.
Thank you. Can the silver cord help us to create and keep a strong connection to the highest version of ourselves in the future or any other timeline to receive guidance?
It can, to some degree, be used that way because your higher mind is connected to all those probabilities, and information can come through the higher mind and through the silver cord to your physical personality with that information. So yes, it can be used that way if you focus that way.
Can you provide us with permission slips to use the silver cord for lucid dreaming?
Again, the idea is that the silver cord is the energy connection between the physical and the higher mind. Therefore, you could perhaps imagine allowing your energy, your consciousness to rise up the silver cord, but stop about halfway in whatever way that appears to be natural to you between your physical and higher mind, and allow the stopping of your energy and your consciousness halfway between the physical and non-physical to grow and expand into the idea of the astral realm. And that permission slip, if you focus on it and meditate on it, can assist in the idea of lucid dreaming.
Thank you. Are we connected to each other with silver cords?
You are connected to each other with an energy net. The silver cord is a terminology that is specific to the idea of the connection between your individual physical mind and your individual higher mind. But you are connected to everyone and everything through another energy web, but that is not what is typically referred to as the silver cord. The silver cord is a specific connection between you and your higher mind.
And what are the physical signs that the silver cord is no longer connected to the body?
You are dead.
Okay.
Because there is no reason for the silver cord to be there if you are no longer physical. As long as you are physical, the silver cord remains because it is the extension from the higher mind to the physical mind. So if there's no more physical mind, there is no more silver cord.
From your perspective, do cemeteries radiate intelligent human life? Are the silver cords of the deceased still active and spread out from their graves? I guess not. Yeah.
The idea, again, is that if a spirit chooses to remain close to the earth vibration in the lower astral, there may still be a version of the silver cord because they have not completely let go of the physical vibration of earth. But for the most part, those, as you say, that are dead have no silver cord if they have moved on into the higher realm of spirit and allowed themselves to be the higher mind once again, be the spirit they have always been. But again, if someone remains close to the earth vibration, there may be a similar idea that you could still refer to as the silver cord, though it would be lighter in essence and in energy, because again, it's not so far removed from the idea of non-physical reality.
I see. Does being skilled at astral projection make dying easier? If so, is it because you know how to expand beyond the physical body from a conscious state?
Yes, because you have become used to the idea of being non-physical, being beyond the body. Therefore, the transition from physical to non-physical is something that becomes familiar to you through astral projection, out-of-body travel. And there is no longer, once you have that experience in general, no longer any concern about the idea of whether or not your consciousness continues after physical death.
Do the Essassani have silver cords?
Everything that is physical has a type of energy connection to their spiritual self. So in general, yes. Although again, we are quasi-physical and therefore the silver cord again may not be, shall we say, as dense as the silver cords of physical humans on Earth.
And what happens to your physical body when you die, meaning the Essassani body? Do you bury your bodies on the planet or like we do on Earth?
No. Our bodies convert completely back into energy, into electromagnetic spiritual energy. Nothing is left.
Okay. This person is asking a question about meditation. I was doing a trance meditation and had a triquetra show up in my imagination. I felt the urge to start making the symbol with my finger. And so for the rest of the trance, I was making the symbol. What is the meaning of this symbol?
It is representative in general, though it can have other specific meanings depending upon the person and the connection to it. But in general, it is representative of the idea that existence is a trinity, positive, negative, and neutral. So it is a balancing symbol, a symbol that represents the balance between what you call the two polarities.
Do Kozyrev mirrors allow people to see into the distant past? Are there beings that monitor and use the use of Kozyrev mirrors?
There are those that are aware of the use of such permission slip devices as Kozyrev mirrors. The idea is that it can be used for what that person is asking about if you have a focus and an intention in that direction. But in general, it is for the purpose of allowing you to sort of transcend your physical limitations consciously and allow yourself to connect to the idea of other versions of yourself, of parallel realities, and so on and so forth. It can also induce, in certain conditions, the idea of out-of-body projections, astral travel. Depends on how it's used. But again, like anything, it is a permission slip that taps into certain levels of the collective consciousness to allow you to decide with your intentional focus what kind of an effect you will experience through the use of that permission slip that you are referring to as Kozyrev mirrors.
Do thoughts just float around like energy patterns, or do you attract and pay attention to a thought based on your belief systems?
Thoughts are generated by belief systems. They don't just float around, as you say. They are patterns of energy, like anything, but they are the result of the patterns of energy in your deepest belief systems and your definitions of what you believe to be true. So they are a secondary reflection pattern of your deeper belief patterns, just like emotions are another level of reflection of the beliefs, behaviors are another level of the reflection of beliefs. All of it is energy patterns, just on different levels. But the idea of emotions and thoughts and behaviors are secondary level reflections, because the primary pattern is in the belief system, in the definitions you buy into as true, as you say, for yourself.
Here's a question about boundaries. You've mentioned that we don't need boundaries, and we don't need to block anything because it's all quote unquote us. However, there are times when you tell us no. Would you please talk about these boundaries and if there is a difference between boundaries and blocking?
Yes, there is a great difference. The idea is that we have never said you don't need any boundaries, because you have imposed boundaries on yourself in order to have a physical experience. So this is a misunderstanding. The idea is that you do use boundaries, you do use self-imposed limitations to have the kinds of physical experiences you are having. The idea is that blocking is blocking yourself with belief systems from the things that are representative of your theme of exploration, of your passion, of your true self, within the boundaries you have imposed upon yourself, within the destiny you have decided is true for you, within the path that you have chosen to walk as a physical being. So boundaries can simply be that which guides you, which prevents you from straying beyond the path you have chosen to walk in physical reality. Blocks are those things that are challenges for you to overcome, to know more about yourself and be the true path you have chosen to be.
So when you don't answer a question, or you say not at this time, is
We are
that
respecting the idea of the boundaries that you have set, and respecting the idea of blocks you may have imposed upon yourself that you have yet to transform. And we can assist you to some degree in the transformation of those things by giving you such things as the formula and the encouragement to examine your belief systems. But we cannot intervene beyond a certain point, because that would remove your ability to experience the transformation that you chose to experience. So we can assist, but we cannot do it for you. But the idea is that we respect the boundaries that you have imposed both individually and collectively, and cannot intervene beyond that.
and I would think it's for us to experience things in the most exciting way.
Yes, that's up to you. And again, we encourage you to do so and have given you the tools that would allow you to do so. But beyond that, we cannot force you to do so.
How is relevance decided? Is it something that the physical mind has a say in, or is it decided by the higher mind?
You have chosen as the spirit, prior to the physical experience, the idea of what is relevant for your path, your theme of exploration. There's some leeway in there, and synchronicity is what is used to bring you the idea of what is relevant for you, because what is relevant for you are the things that contain the highest level of passion. That's how you understand the relevance, as long as you are clear that you are not disguising your anxiety as excitement or vice versa. So the idea is that synchronicity is simply the mechanism within the structure, built into the structure of existence, the structure of space-time, that brings you what is relevant for you to experience. Be it something you do or don't prefer, it can still be relevant, because it might be something that's representative of something you need to transform. And that can be relevant for your journey.
So most of what we experience is relevant for our journey, if not everything?
The experience of it manifesting in your reality is relevant. It doesn't necessarily mean that the manifestation of it beyond that point is relevant. You will determine that by facing it from a positive state and getting a benefit from it that will tell you synchronistically how much of what appears, how much of what manifests needs to be taken beyond a certain point and is truly relevant or not relevant for you. Remember, as we have said, this is why there's no insistence on how things come to you and what they mean. Let them show you what they mean. Let them play out to the degree they need to play out. But the idea of insisting that it go beyond a certain point, or that it means a certain thing according to your society, may not necessarily be completely relevant for you. So the idea is to let the circumstance show you what is relevant synchronistically and let the rest of it go. Because sometimes the form in which your excitement comes doesn't mean that thing has to come to fruition. It just may be what gets you to move so that you will wind up where you need to be, so that what really needs to happen that is relevant for you can happen more easily, because you've now placed yourself in a position of receiving it more fluently, more fluidly, more allowingly.
Mm-hmm. This person asks, he says, I'm curious about beauty. What does beauty mean to you? Is there a concept of beauty in energetic signatures?
Yes, that which is in its patterns and expressions aligned with the idea of existence itself. That to us is beauty. Your natural state is perfectly aligned with the idea of the allowance, of the unconditional support and love of all that is and existence. And that is beauty. Now, all of it, in a sense, can be said to be beautiful depending upon how you use what is given to you, what you attract. Because even the idea of the exploration of negativity can be beautiful in its results, in its acceptance, in its understanding, in its usage. But the idea ultimately, in the way that it is typically meant on your planet, is that which is aligned with the flow of existence itself. That is considered to be beauty.
When we're looking at things that are beautiful, what comes to mind is the ratio, the 5 ratio.
Physically speaking, yes, because that's representative of a certain pattern that is aligned with the natural structure of physical existence.
Mm.
So it's still about the idea of falling into alignment with the structure of existence, whatever level that structure is being expressed on, whether physical or non-physical or extra-dimensional. It's representing a reflection of the ratios and proportions that are in alignment with the vibration of existence itself. You call them golden proportions, golden ratios in physical reality.
Are there any places on Earth that you think are very beautiful?
All of it is very beautiful.
It is. Okay.
Again, that doesn't mean all of it is aligned at the moment. But from our perspective, all of it has the potential for alignment. All of it, in that sense, is a chosen challenge to transform darkness into light. But even darkness can be beautiful. So again, some of it is subjective, depending upon the theme you are exploring. Some of it can be said to be somewhat objective, but you have to understand what level you're asking about when you talk about what's beautiful, because it depends upon the experience of the thing and how it's used that determines in a lot of ways its essence or beauty. Yes?
How is it that when we are shifting billions of times per second to already existing worlds, that we are not, quote unquote, kicking out an existing version of ourselves already there? And how is it that, and how is it we now have that person's past if we have not replaced them? Can you, please, if you can, go into detail here, as I've heard it explained before, and still I can't seem to allow it to stick.
The reason it's not sticking is that your concept is erroneous in the idea that things are stuck where they are and you're replacing it. Like it's not moving too. Everything moves together. Everything moves at once. You shift, they shift. The idea is that you're all constantly shifting. So nothing is ever standing still. You're not replacing anyone. You may be taking over, euphemistically speaking, the spot that they used to occupy, but they don't occupy it anymore. Again, look at a stream or a river. Waves move through it and all of that, and water flows and all of that. But one water molecule is, in a sense, not taking over from another water molecule. The other water molecule that was there a moment ago has moved on downstream. So it's all moving simultaneously. Nothing is being replaced because nothing is standing still to be replaced by something else coming in. Everything is moving simultaneously.
Thank you, Bashar. We have a bunch of questions about animals.
Yes.
Do animals have silver cords, and do they understand death?
Animals and any living thing in that sense, and even inanimate objects have types of energetic connections you could refer to, if you wish, as a type of silver cord. They're a little bit different than those experienced or created by humans, but the idea nevertheless is that everything physical has a connection to the non-physical energetically, and you could refer to that connection as the silver cord, from individual physical mind to higher mind, physical being to non-physical being. Animals understand death very clearly because they do not experience the idea consciously as such an abrupt transition as humans have because of their belief systems. For animals, the idea of what you call physical life and what you call non-physical death is a much smoother transition for most than what many humans believe to be the case. They don't see such a large separation because many of them have the senses to peer into non-physical reality and consider it part of their daily experience as reality. So the shift for them is not seemingly as abrupt as it may be for many humans who hold on to the belief system when they die, that non-physical reality is so much different. Physical reality and non-physical reality are very close in vibration because physical reality isn't real. It's just a projection of consciousness. It's just, in a sense, a dream that the non-physical you is having in spirit. Therefore, again, similar to the idea that sleeping physically and waking up physically aren't that much different with regard to what's happening in physical reality. One moment you're lying down and you're focused in a different way, and the next moment you're sitting up and focused in a different way. The transition between physical life and death is only that thin, just like lying down and then sitting up. For animals, it is that smooth. For trees, it is even smoother. For minerals, it is smoother still. No matter how dense a mineral may be, because you consider it to be inanimate, and many humans consider minerals to be unconscious, which isn't the case, they simply use consciousness in a different way, piggybacking on your consciousness to understand themselves as a reflection of your consciousness. For them, even though they seem to be dense physically, they're actually quite close to non-physical reality because they're not interjecting themselves consciously in the same way you are with the idea of the kind of dense thematic experience that humans choose to experience physical reality to be. They are simply there, in a sense, as what you might call background reflections. Things that carry meaning, things that carry information, but because they are pure information, they are not so separated from the idea of non-physical reality, which is all about patterns of information from one point of view. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And I have a follow-up question to that. Since it's kind of an easy transition for animals, easier than for humans. Last week we talked about euthanasia.
Yes.
And how, there's sometimes guilt about having to euthanize one of your pets. If it's an easy transition, wouldn't the pets just lay down and die when they were ready?
If it didn't necessarily mean anything for the human to experience that transition, most of them simply would. But again, remember, they are part of your family, and there may be purpose in the human experiencing the transition in the way that it typically happens. It's not just about the animal's transition. It's about what the human also experiences that helps them in their journey by going through that experience with the animal.
Okay. So there is a purpose that they experience together when there's
everything is an orchestration. There are no accidents. Everything is an orchestration. All you have to do is look deep for the meanings and what you're getting out of it and why you're experiencing it the way that you are experiencing it along with the animal. Because it allows you to go through certain processes of grieving and letting go and reconnecting on a different level and many other reasons for why it may be happening the way that it's happening. An animal on its own, out in what you say, the wild, may just simply leave if there is no purpose for it to interact with any other kinds of beings. It may just simply leave.
Okay. This question is about spiders. Are spiders closer to their silver cords than humans, since they weave literal silver cords throughout their lives?
It's not that they're closer to them. They may have a different kind of understanding, since they are the reflection of interconnections and webs, but it's not that they're closer. They may just have a different understanding, a deeper understanding, a different kind of relationship and connection to the idea of any kind of connection or cord that would be reflective of the idea of webs and interconnectivity.
Can cats and dogs communicate with human infants in the womb? Can they sense the silver cords of fetuses?
Yes.
It's a longer question, but very good. Scientists today attribute an animal's ability for consciousness and self-recognition through the mirror test, where they see if a given animal can recognize themselves in the mirror. The animals that can do this include bottlenose dolphins, great apes, elephants, and more. However, I intuitively feel as though this isn't a completely accurate measurement for consciousness and self-recognition. What would you say this self-recognition mirror test is actually measuring or showing, and why are some animals capable of it and some are not? And what would be a more accurate test for self-recognition or consciousness?
Well, let me put it this way. The mirror test is an accurate test for self-awareness. The idea as to whether or not an animal recognizes itself is not necessarily the end-all be-all for determining self-awareness, because an animal that doesn't necessarily recognize the reflection as itself still may see the reflection as another animal. And for one animal to see something and consider it to be other than itself is still self-awareness. The animal would have to have absolutely no recognition whatsoever of anything in the mirror in order for it to, quote unquote, fail the test of self-awareness. But if the animal sees the image, even if the animal considers it to be another animal, you cannot necessarily consider something to be other and know it is not yourself without a sense of self-awareness. The animals that do recognize themselves in the way that humans do in a mirror simply have stronger connections to the idea of the expression of human consciousness, whereas other animals may not necessarily have such a strong connection to the expression of human consciousness in the way that humans experience it. But the idea of the mirror test is accurate for recognizing self-awareness as long as the animal either recognizes itself or thinks that the reflection is another animal. Both are indications of self-awareness as opposed to what's in the mirror or in conjunction with what's in the mirror. Both are the result of self-awareness. And in that sense, the scientists are mistaken that non-recognition of self somehow fails to indicate self-awareness. So both do indicate self-awareness and therefore is accurate on that level.
Yes, because I noticed my cat notices herself in the mirror, but I don't know if she knows it's her or another cat.
It doesn't matter because, again, even recognizing something as other than the self is a recognition of the self.
Right.
Otherwise, there would be no recognition of anything.
Right.